There is kind of a question, and that is that if you can combine classes, right, of printed material, like you've got class C up at the top, which is using paint, class D, class E, F, and so on. The thing is, you use class F when you're doing a petition, and it says that you can use an enactment, and it's in connection with standing orders of Parliament as well. That's obvious. Now, the thing with class E is that it doesn't use standing orders of Parliament. It's in connection with elections. An advertisement relating specifically to a pending parliamentary or local government election or a referendum under the Political Parties Elections Act. Advertisement shall be removed 14 days after the close of the poll in the election or referendum which it relates, right? So, all material that is relating to an election is class E, all of it, even if you make your own sign. But the thing is, if it falls into that class, it's being classified as a class. Now, the thing is, it's not for profit. The purpose of it is not for profit. It's not for business. So really, you shouldn't be paying tax on it. And really, it begs to question who pays for it in the first place. Now, if you make it yourself, it's relating to an election, and it's either supporting or opposing a candidate or a party, right? Now, the thing is that all of the material concerning elections is meant to be paid for by Parliament, right? Or the agent. Now, this is why I'm starting to think that, and this is where I don't know whether I'm basically having an argument with the Electoral Commission. I mean, they will say they've been doing it for ages and they know all about it and, whatever. But I found there's so many things that different parts of the government and departments are doing wrong or have done wrong. And massive platforms, Facebook, YouTube. There is a lot being done wrong by the government currently. Even this withholding of the Welsh petition, it's got more signatures and response than a lot of elections have. Anyway, and they're being denied any referendum from that. So, now we need to really kind of work this out and get it cleared up. They probably think that they've already got it cleared up. There's two kind of positions, or there's only two main points on this matter between Class C and Class F. The first position or perspective would be that you can combine Class C and Class F together. So you'd have a right to... The thing is, like Stop ULEZ or Extinction Rebellion or Just Stop Oil or, whatever political campaign it is, right? They might want to do material which was not only touching on matters which support their cause, but also which go on to subjects of the election. And the main example is this Stop ULEZ, because Stop ULEZ has become a major point for the mayoral election in London, right? So their material now is crossing a border between Class C and Class F, right? Because first it was a political cause using an enactment to government, and now it's crossed over into elections. Now, if we go with the principle that you can have Class E and Class F combined, which would be like, get Khan out, stop ULEZ, get Khan out, right? If it uses Class F and the enactment and you got the right to petition, then you're meant to have immunity, right? But still, it's non-profit, and still you'd want to claim some money back. But whether you claim that money back through VAT 126 claim with government, or whether you just don't get a tax off it in the first place, the thing is that if it's relating to or connected to the election, it's meant to be paid for by Parliament, right? And go through the electoral agent. Now, it depends how much. You might say, well, is it, is more than 50, is it more related to the election or more related to the referendum, right? Well, the thing is this, that the thing where I think that I've worked this out properly is this: elections go back really, 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 really far, right? Elections go way back to before even the conquest, before the Anglo-Saxons, right back to the Celts when they were electing their chieftains and council. And, the thing with this is, in the Bill of Rights, you've got elections ought to be free and not be charged for them money, because sometimes they were charging people money to vote and so forth. The thing with the election is this, right? Elections, firstly, are not a prosecution or a civil case. An election is its own specific process that is actually really old and ancient. And the 1688 Bill of Rights, when they did that enactment, the right to petition, it is specifically for complaints and grievances to the government, cases to the government, right? Or to either houses of Parliament. The thing is, the election is already a thing run by the government, right? Usually when you petition for something, you're petitioning to have a referendum. Well, if it's a serious matter and the government can't act on it just on a few signatures or on the evidence, then you can have either a referendum, but also you can have a petition to have an election. So that the election is something that you could petition for. And the thing is, it's already a case to the government for something. Like, you can challenge it with an election petition, right? But the election petition is a case which challenges how an election was run. Now, you might start to think, well, if there's an election on, aren't we kind of petitioning for one candidate or the other candidate? Well, the thing is, when you go vote, and when you actually turn up to vote and cast a vote, you are doing it then. So it's already that. So we say, well, can't you use your right to petition government? The thing is that I actually believe now that really the current method they've got set up, the candidates, right? They are, the whole point of having funding, they're meant to be the ones who are promoting themselves and the party members and so forth. Now, what about an independent candidate? If lots of people wanted to... Well, an independent candidate also has an agent as well. And when you give or donate, it's supposed to go through the agent so they can claim monies through it, right? If you make loads of signs, if you make loads of placards to help an independent candidate to win, really, you want the money back for that material because that material is Class E, and it falls under that. And if you're helping and assisting that agent, he really should put that through the books and accept all those as gifts. and then claim the money back from Parliament, right? It's kind of like a dealer, really. If you think of, like a dealer, the agents are the dealers, really, for each person who is or isn't. Well, if they're not in the election, if they're not a candidate, then you can't vote for them. So, but if they're in the election and if they are a candidate, right, then all of the material created, inventories, has to go through them, whether they issue it or not, even if it's not officially issued by them, but it's supportive to them or whatever. I think that's how it's supposed to be done. Now, you might say, well, what happens if you want to use your right to petition to do it? Well, you can do, but the thing is, if it's a petition asking for the government to do something on a certain matter, then that's what that is, and that is its own thing with its own objectives, right? The thing with this, right, the thing with Class C here, right, is that Class C doesn't matter what the subject matter is. Class C is actually only a medium and method. Class C is like the process of painting. It's actually a painted sign. So Class C is a form of sign. So the subject can be anything, right? The subject can change, but the Class C is a form, a format of sign, a physical form of sign, right? Which can be any subject. So if the subject is petitions, then the subject is petitions, and if you're using an enactment, it's Class F. If it's elections, right, then it is Class E with C, right? Class E and F are both different subject matter, not necessarily different forms. But the thing is, with Class E, it relates to parliamentary or local elections, right? Now, the thing is, with Class F, if it becomes to be supportive of a candidate in an election, then really that's what it is. Now, the thing with ULEZ was that it was asking the mayor, it did concern a candidate, the mayor, right, of stopping ULEZ. So they can address the mayor because he's the person who makes the decision on the grievance they've got. But as the election draws near, right, you're getting into the subject of elections. Now, this is like Rees-Mogg. Rees-Mogg's on GB News complaining about him getting publicity for his own candidacy for election, right? He's always getting publicity from that. He shouldn't really be on there, but they're reckoning that he can be on there. But if he starts to get onto the subject of elections and telling people who they should and shouldn't vote for, persuade them, then he's gone onto that subject. Now, that's a little bit like the Stop ULEZ. Like, it's about certain matter or point. Now, you can talk about Khan. Sadiq Khan has done ULEZ, and they want to get Sadiq Khan to stop ULEZ. But you're on the subject of Khan, but then it's Khan in the election, right? And whether people should or shouldn't vote for him. And then you've gone into this Class E. And the thing is, how much of it is it one or the other? Well, this is the thing. It's gone into it. It's gone into it. And you might say, well, have the people protected or whatever from being prosecuted? There is an argument for them having protection under Class F if they're using the enactment. But really, when it's influencing the election, it's all supposed to be put through the agents as well. So you're starting to get into the area where you can argue, Well, yes, they've sort of got a right to influence the, if their can material itself is like hybrid, two classes, like painting on surfaces and class F, but it is influencing the election, and it is some of it's become election material, and therefore those rules apply as much as the other rules. And really, some of it needs to start being put through the agents and claimed as gifts, because then how much support or opposition any candidate has got in the expenditure and so forth. Really, and I don't think the Electoral Commission actually care. I think it's too complicated for them, to be honest, because the police haven't even been getting it right with Extinction Rebellion. I mean, this is like Extinction Rebellion, when they're using the enactment, but then they're breaking windows. It's a representation. They say, oh, well, this is a representation. This is a theatrical representation. How much is it, covered by Class F or going into, the Criminal Damage Act or defacement or whatever. But the thing is, in the Town and Country Planning Act, there are actually certain specific rules. It's actually only Class F actually is fully exempt from all the provisions on there. You'll notice that Class E isn't. Class E isn't exempt from all those conditions. So if some of Stop ULEZ's material goes into Class E, that isn't automatically getting deemed an express consent. So it is kind of a little bit complicated, but something should be done about it. But I don't really know what to say, because I don't think Rees Mogg should be on GB News. He is getting self-publicity from it for his Somerset place. That Esther McVeigh as well has been on there. They're all flaunting and breaking the rules, and Ofcom's turning a blind eye on it. And then you've got, there is much in the wrong as Facebook and YouTube are with, facilitating and encouraging people to pull people out of meetings and take information down and block information when people are in public meetings. There's all kinds of illegal things going on YouTube with the groups, and really the government have encouraged it, because they've been having meetings with Cyril Sandberg, and then, Nick Clegg was the Deputy Prime Minister, and now he's going to work at Facebook, and they've got the Lucy Fraser. She's part of the Privy Council. Apparently they can do no wrong under that oath. Then there's a Department of Culture, Media and Sport in there. The committee will do nothing. And then there's this matter with the big 20-mile-an-hour petition in Wales, where they're not giving them the referendum when they've easily got over 5% of the signatures, and it's supposed to have a referendum. I just don't think that they are scrutinising it or looking into it enough. There are certain things, right, that they've kind of just been taking for granted or doing for a while, but they haven't been questioning them. And part of it is that the government itself actually break rules, that they are corrupted. I mean, just look at this Sadiq Khan with his cameras and so forth, this whole Stop ULEZ thing. Sadiq Khan's been talking about wanting to charge money for the Blackwall Tunnel, but Sadiq Khan hasn't got a clue how to be a mayor or run London. The Blackwall Tunnel, why isn't there already a toll on it? The reason there's not a toll on the Blackwall Tunnel is because they can't give a toll on it, because it's illegal to put a toll in London, right, by land or sea. because of Magna Carta, that clause 13 that's still in effect of the 4 clauses, the opening part on the religion, and then the clause 39 and 40 to do with rights and legal process, and 13 is meant to be a London clause for the liberties of London, which is through the Charter of Liberties and all the various charters of London and so forth. I think Magna Carta even qualifies for that as well. Well, it does, because they're based on Magna Carta. They all follow on from Magna Carta, but just for different areas of a different charter. So you can't be told, you do. None of the citizens of London are supposed to pay a toll by sea or land, right, including road. So I don't know how they started doing that congestion charge, and they broke the law then. It's a miracle they didn't start charging for the Blackwall Tunnel, but I think it would have drawn too much attention, and I think that they were trying to sneakily do it and just hope people memories wipe and forget about it. And then with this ULEZ charge, people haven't really questioned it too much. But then when they brought that Blackwall, when Sadiq Khan's talking about the Blackwall Tunnel, I've been researching the rights, and then I'm starting to learn a lot of things and come across a lot of things, getting into Magna Carta, and then it turns out that it is the fact and truth. The fact and truth is that the reason that Blackwall Tunnel is toll-free is because they can't tax it. Now, the Dartford crossing is not in the City of London. It's out on the motorway, the orbital. So it doesn't qualify to be in that area. But this is one of the old liberties of London. They're not supposed to pay proper tax on their own personal property things. Well, when you buy a car, really, that's a thing. Now, you might say, well, it would be ridiculous if no one paid road tax. But the road tax is actually on the road, right? Is attributed and tagged to the road. This is for the road, maintenance of the road. But the thing with these ULEZ charges, other than being a toll, it's actually a toll, not like a maintenance charge for the pavements or streets. It's actually a toll. You can't drive around from here to there without paying money. It is a toll. It's a toll between points. Tolls are driving between certain points, right? And the thing is that it's actually on the vehicle. It's not. The thing with road tax is that you pay the money to maintain the roads, right? But with these ULEZ charges, they're doing it on your vehicle. Oh, your vehicle is this type of vehicle. They're actually charging you because of what your property is or what it is not, right? And I know that there are certain tax bans for vehicles like motorcycles and cars, but the thing is that they're going on your personal property. It's your personal property, and because it's like, this or that style or this or that, they're actually taxing your use of a thing, right? But you're already paying road tax. So it's not for the maintenance of the streets, because you're already paying for the maintenance of the streets. It is based on the property. It is a property tax of a vehicle because of what type of property it is. And so it's a toll, and it's a toll. You both together, but either or, it's illegal on Magna Carta Clause 13 through the Charters and Liberties, and that is the reason. That's the reason why the Blackwall Tunnel is free. That is the reason why the Blackwall Tunnel is free, because of Magna Carta, and that is obvious. People should understand and know that. That's another thing Sadiq Khan. He hasn't got a clue about these things. And if he did, he'd lie anyway. He'd scam. The government are scamming. David Cameron is a cheat. David Cameron lied and fiddled with the dual carriageway national speed limits when it clearly is on a driving licence. The 1993 driving licence confirms it. The vans were the same speed on dual and single carriageways as cars. And then when we had a run-in with David Cameron through the petition campaign and the illegal road signage, he took revenge, personal revenge, and struck back. The Empire Strikes Back. This man's a criminal. Boris Johnson, we have a corrupt government, and the Electoral Commission need to come to terms with this. The illegal road signage around England, it's all one matter, and it is a matter of officials in government breaking the law. It all falls under corrupt and illegal practices. And if the Electoral Commission do not do something about what's happening, then they will be also falling under corrupt and legal practices as well. And, I don't think that anything will be done about it until, for starters, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. gets into government in America. We don't have anyone like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in England who is promising to end a corrupt government. All we've got is people who are like, oh, we'll stop the ULEZ fines, or we'll turn the cameras off, or, this or that. None of them are saying, and a lot of them are engaging in corrupt practices on GB News as well. A lot of the other alternative parties, or they've sold out and they've got their own, publicity, which is actually aiding them. The one thing about the elections is that the idea of the election was supposed to be that it was kind of by petition, that you could write. It was like calling everyone together to have a petition for who's going to be elected by petition. But that means if the thing is, on that basis, and that's the basis with which they wrote the American Constitution. That is the basis by which they said we will vote for our presidents, right, from the start. The thing is that if you've got that process, that clears up between Class E and F, because Class E is an election. It is a procedure for something. So why would you be petitioning Parliament for something when they're already giving you a process to do it? You don't need to petition them for a process, because here is the process, go vote, right? On that basis, it already is its own thing. So why would you want to combine it together with a petition, right? Although you could say, well, I could combine Class E with C, because C is a medium painting on walls, right? Now, the thing is, it's right to petition for, to the Mayor of London or to Parliament to stop the ULEZ, right? But when there's an election on and you're getting into that's its own thing. And you don't need to ask Parliament to stop ULEZ and for a petition, because you're going to vote, which is its own thing. So even if you could say, well, I've got the right to, combine petition material with election material, I don't think they can stop. I'm not suggesting that they can stop you doing that under the right to petition indemnity, but if it does, then what it does do is it could. The thing is, you say all prosecutions and commitments are illegal, but it is actually influencing the election. Now, the thing is, you're looking at everything being registered and listed and going through the agent and checked and quantified, and then money claimed back. So you're not getting charged, or you're not getting prosecuted or anything bad doing, even if it did go through there, because it's actually saving you money and getting it paid for. you know. But the election has got to be fair. That's the thing. And the thing is, lots of people could protest about an election or whatsoever, but that's why you've got election rules to make sure it's fair, you know. It is a process and procedure of its own. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything stopping the candidates including a particular matter in their election material. Like, if Sue Hall is wanting to stop ULEZ as part of the things that she's going to do, it can include that subject matter, right? And that's the thing. So, really, if Sue Hall can have election material which can include certain points of things she wants to do, then that has actually confirmed, really, that if you have a Stop ULEZ petition material and it starts to include election matters, the fact that Sue Hall or any of the candidates can have their election material can cover certain matters of what they do and want to stop or remove or whatever, then that makes snap. You've got snap. Like when you play cards and you get, a jack and a jack, snap. Or jack and or a king and a king, snap. You've got candidate material including this point of policy, snap. So at that point, what you've actually got is the petition material is actually no longer really Class F, because the Class E candidates material is of a combination of content for purely under Class E, which actually really would fully bring the Class F under Class E, if you can understand what I mean. What they've done is they've actually, by extending the election policies into another subject, you've actually sucked in fully all of the petition material, if it includes both. So I think that it's almost like being a dealer. I think the agents are meant to be the dealers of the material, and they're the ones who can deal it out to the public. But if the public wanted, nothing's stopping the public donating or joining the party, or even giving materials to them, or making them and putting them in their garden. But it has to be all accounted for. And I think the word accounted for, and really, everything is a donation, because if it's accounted for, then the agent and the candidate can claim it through Parliament after, and all those persons can get given monies for the materials they used to donate, right? Because you can either donate in money, like the big Tory donors, or donate in materials. No one's stopping you from doing it. But you've got these direct and indirect, and so forth. And it's meant to be done a certain way, so then you know how much, because then the government know how much support there was for a certain candidate and what materials and resources went into it. I don't think the Electoral Commission really get their head around this, because the concept of them doing something properly, absolutely to the rules, is probably too much for them to undertake and understand at the moment. And because this London Mayor election is such a big thing, such a huge matter, I to be honest, I don't think I think this is the first time that this phenomenon probably is occurring on this scale, because in local, unless you support Labour or support Tory and you're really into elections and you're really into supporting a long-established party, like when they used to have the working men's clubs a lot more, people aren't even really interested. And the most people get is a couple of flyers through the things anyway. Sometimes people have a Labour sign up, but they've usually got it from Labour. It most always is an official one. And possibly there's been people doing things, at other points, but I definitely know that you're not supposed to give people lifts to vote and things like that, and have things in the windows of the vehicle and so forth to persuade people. I actually, and there's so many people now using privileged devices. What I've got subscriptions on them. They can only broadcast because they've managed to get so many like 100,000 people to subscribe on TikTok, and they're using certain assets like that to help promote and aid certain candidates. Even the TV now, they needed to get Mog on there and that Esther McVeigh and some others to pull the con, because it is actually strictly controlled. And they needed to do it to try and convince us all that they can do it when they can't. And it doesn't really matter so much, because, even Sadiq Khan was going to even try and charge on the Blackwall Tunnel when he can't. They're trying to block people from getting these referendums on 20 mile an hour when really they can't. There's so many things that they are doing illegally that the individual, like Ofcom, Electoral Commission, they're all groomed, trained, set up to be nice little government, well-behaved, go along with the narrative of what the government want it to be, not actually challenging the government and not challenging everyone else. So I am, because I think they're doing it illegally. But it's not. There's many things that have been done illegally. Facebook and YouTube is a complete and total mess. My channel on YouTube was taken down when it's evidence. That's supported by standing orders of Parliament. It's evidence in a legal case. Even 38 Degrees, claim to be champion of the public. They've taken people's petitions down when it's their own evidence. In a case to the Parliament, you can't steal people's evidence when they've got it all set out, and all laid out in a case, compiled together. There's so much now. And the thing is, what makes it worse is that you've got GB News and, talk radio and sort of, like LBC, these main channels, main stations, and they're getting it wrong and they're making it worse, because and they're just getting random people with random opinions, and they don't really know, they're not informed themselves, and it's just ending up being a big free-for-all. One big kind of social argument when you're not really getting anywhere, because those with the loudest voices and the biggest microphones are leading the narrative, and that's where you've got Rees-Mogg popping up and Esther McVeigh, and I suppose Galloway in a way, he's on his own channel, and they are now leading us into the way they want to take it, and really they aren't that. I don't think Esther McVeigh really probably gets it or understands as an MP. She's just riding the wave, and she wants to do what she wants to do. She's not challenging the government on it, and she's definitely going to stand down from GB News, that's for sure. She wants to, be up there with Mogg breaking the law. They made out Mogg was breaking the law, but not in the way that he properly fully is breaking the law, by actually being a permanent advertisement for himself as MP on there. It's just not the way that it's meant to have been done. We know how it's supposed to be done through the whole BBC history, which is they appear on there at the grace of the public. There is a model for it. There's a specific model that they've got the privilege of being in government and being invited onto television, right? Or else no one else would be interested in them. And they only get attention and publicity because of the privilege they've been elected for, and in a controlled environment in the position which is not to affect their success in any elections. And, Mogg is not being invited on GB News at the privilege of votes. He's only, they're only interested in him because he's been elected and because he is an MP, or else they'd have no interest in him at all whatsoever, right? But he's not been invited on to answer questions. He's been given a full leading role to, if he doesn't, even if he doesn't stand again, it's a principle of it. He shouldn't have been on there until he was finished with government and not standing again. And then you can say there's always the possibility of him standing again. But that's the thing. Part of it in the rules is if they're likely to be or going to be standing. You might say, well, what about actors and famous people suddenly becoming politicians or getting into politics? Well, they're meant to leave television at that point, Look at Tracy Brabin at Coronation Street star. To be honest, there's that many things that are going wrong now that there's no point really voting for these people because they've got a lot of rules that they're not abiding by. They don't want to abide by the rules. They just want to make it up as they go along and then somehow wish the rules never existed when they want to do, when the culture changes or they want to do something else. They just want to click their fingers and wish that it never was how it was when it is how it is. Almost kind of just like, it's whimsical. It's whimsical, and I think this is mainly because of YouTube and Facebook. But so I actually I now believe that because of some of these candidates having a position and certain points on certain things, that actually makes it fully Class E. What you've actually done is you've transformed what was Class F. It becomes hybrid between them, and then it gets engulfed and fully becomes Class E for the duration of that election. It says here, advertisement shall be removed within 14 days after the close. So it's actually valid up till 14 days after. So actually, my current opinion on, and I doubt the Electoral Commission are going to sit through this video and listen to the whole thing, right? But I actually believe now that if it's Class F and then it starts to get into matters of elections, right, it actually becomes fully Class E for the duration of the election until the time of which after it expires, because it's absorbed it into it. All the matters and points and facts of what the candidates are standing on, right? So it's actually converting, and then what you get is you've got your election rules why it has to be fair, right? Because you're going to vote and you are having a say. So like a petition trying to get something done, you are going to vote and have a say. So my final opinion on it, now that I've thought about it, and you can calculate this, but this is kind of like you need to be you need to be like a maths kind of like professor. You need to have your working knowledge of the formulas and so forth, right? For it, this is not a blag. It actually becomes E. Now the thing with Class C is, that's the thing. Class C is business or whatsoever, but when you are doing it for a political matter using an enactment, then it becomes Class F. So but if you're painting it, the paint job becomes Class F. So it is C. It is both hybrids, but you can have it, right? So in fact, actually, the real difficult part of this is the Extinction Rebellion with the breaking the window, because they're really pushing it. because that, this is why the police are throwing criminal damage at it. But the police threw criminal damage at Angela Ditchfield when it clearly was surface defacement, which is painted C and Class F, right? So Angela Ditchfield's was well within the law of this law here that we've got, and Max Hill just wasn't even not even on the same page. He wasn't even the same act. He wasn't even there. I don't know what Max Hill was doing, but Max Hill is the director of public prosecutions of England, the country, right? He's meant to know what, odd, weird Latin terms mean in law when you're reading through, obscure legislation. He's supposed to be, understand every process and procedure. Something was really not right with that, with Max Hill. And this is why I know the Electoral Commission aren't doing their job properly, because Max Hill wasn't doing his job properly. And I don't think Sadiq Khan is doing his job properly when he tries to claim that he can get tolls on the Blackwall Tunnel. And this is the Electoral Commission and Ofcom, and I don't think that they've got the staff with the intellect to do it. And I think Professor Tim Wilson probably struggles with it. I mean, I probably could teach him, but I think Professor Tim Wilson probably is, on borderline with it. So, it's Extinction Rebellion are probably pushing it with breaking those windows, at least in this act. But criminal damage has still got a right privilege and interest as well. And, you can argue it with a representation, right? But I'm just complaining about the McDonald's tune advertisement at the moment. Under the definition of advertisement, there is no sound, noise, or tune. There's only words and letters, right? Now, when you speak, that's a letter and a word, right? When you talk, and on the radio, if you're going to advertise something, you need to know what it is, so they need to tell you and explain what it is, right? But if someone just, a tune, a note, a noise is not a word. It's not in the dictionary. So if you say what you're advertising, is it in a foreign dictionary? Is it in French? If it's a French advertisement or a German advertisement, it's actually not advertising anything. It's just a tune. Now you can say, oh, it's a signature tune, but a signature tune, even a trademark tune, it's still. The funny thing is, you can have a trademark tune in an advertisement. It can feature in an advertisement that has words and letters. But if there aren't any words and letters to identify what the tune is in a spoken language, then you're struggling. Therefore, a tune alone, a tune by itself, without any words or letters, cannot advertise anything. It can't, because how can you tell them what it is, what product it is? Or what it's or where to go for it? You can't. And that's the thing that I pulled McDonald's upon with their whistle, with their tune, because they're just playing it by itself now with nothing else. Now, if you've just come into the country and you don't know anything about this country and you hear it on the radio, you don't know where to go for that product. You don't know what the product is. You don't know it's a hamburger. It's just a sound, a note, a noise. So this is the thing with the Advertising Standards Agency. It's not actually qualifying as an advertisement. So how can they run it as an advertisement when it isn't one? Now, if they've got words and letters in advertisements and they feature a trademark tune in it, like you can have a registered trademark, you can have a registered trademark. Funnily enough, on the government websites, you can copyright a tune, but for registered trademarks, really they're visual ones. Most of the registered trademark logos on the government website are all visual pictures and logos. I think they can copyright a trademark tune, but it's not usually registered on the website with the logos and so forth. So, I mean, this one recording here. I mean, these departments responsible probably are not going to. I've got this is. You don't need to get any more complicated than this. this is the we get this is you're into as much detail as the government are going to give you in it, right? Right here, this is it. But unless you understand it, how it applies, I mean, I've just, this is Advertising Standards Agency, Ofcom, Electoral Commission, Mayor of London, commercial companies like McDonald's, I mean, how many complaints can you fit in one video? YouTube, Facebook, 38 Degrees, you just rack them up. They're all breaking the law. They don't. And then you've got these companies like, TuneCore that have got policies like, we can terminate account for any reason or no reason, when you can't have that. You can't have that policy in English law because it's illegal, because there are many illegal reasons that they are trying to claim that they can have. So, I mean, everyone seems to be breaking the law at the moment. And it started when these big companies and corporations took over. But all the government seemed to be doing is making more laws up, trying to say that we're breaking the law, fine you for this, fine you for that. But no one is actually taking them to court, the government, for corrupt and illegal practices. They don't want to. All they do is stand down or step down, but whatever's been done wrong carries on being done wrong. We're meant to pay for these departments, like the Electoral Commission, are meant to do a job for the public. And they're responsible for complaints and arranging prosecutions and legal actions against people who offend. And I don't think Ofcom and the Electoral Commission and Advertising Standards Agency are doing. They're not. They do random cases like, blood jelly or whatever. And then the last one that I saw in the Advertising Standards Agency, it's things that they find amusing or novel, but all the real serious things, the proper things that are violations, they're just either, they don't want to do it, or they've been told not to. I'm not sure, but something needs to be done.